Well, welcome to our beginning of our new campaign. This will be our session 0 for this new setting. This is the Ebon Realms, which takes place in the world of Etharis, which is part of the Grim Hollow setting. I decided to make a new island instead of using the already established Etharis, just to kind of change it up and just to experiment with some new things. So, with this setting, there are various differences and effects that you will deal with that are going to be different than other things that you've dealt with in previous games relating to effects on the land that you will have to deal with. Two of them being the plague and the gloom. The gloom itself is a like this dark miasma that basically spreads rapidly and just leaves devastation in its wake. You'll notice that when I did this map, I gave it kind of like this kind of
Purple
purplish
stuff?
tint. Yeah, this purplish tint. It's basically just that. It's like this haze that you'll have to kind of deal with. It'll be a very ongoing theme that you'll notice throughout this. So your player characters are starting on a boat and you are traveling to the Ebon Realms. I have your icon out here in the water to kind of represent
Okay.
about how close you are to the island itself. And I'm going to activate the map from where you are all currently residing.
Oh my god. This is
I'm
cool.
on a boat.
God, it's a boat.
We're on
How
a boat.
I'm British, you see.
We're on a boat,
We're on a boat.
He's on a boat.
and the boat's moving.
And there's birds. Do you see the birds?
You're a bird.
No, there's birds flying.
No, I checked you all over.
That's rain.
Oh, I teleported myself. Oh no. Daddy, where are you?
Already moving and going outside.
He's already doing stuff.
Two seconds and
Everybody was
Alfie,
moving.
come on, man.
All right.
Everybody was
And
moving.
combat starts now.
Everybody was moving. I just stepped on the unmarked teleporter.
All right. Well, I'm gonna pause it so that we don't
Damn it,
do that
Alfie.
again. So, I did
There's
put
nothing here. I just went past
markers
the
on the deck so that you can represent where things are. This takes you down to the lower deck. This staircase. This door right here takes you to the mess hall, and this area right here takes you to the bunks. We're
It
not
sure
gonna do
does.
that again. So, uh, let me pull him back to the scene so we can.
You realize that
Oh,
I wasn't there to look at you point to the doors?
Oh man.
Wait, there's labels on the
exactly.
map.
Yeah,
Yep.
I have clear,
Yep.
distinct labels to be like, hey, go this way, do this.
And Alfie still stepped on the door.
That's funny.
Yeah. So
I
These
wouldn't expect
unmarked
anything less, honestly.
teleporters that are marked.
One day you'll appreciate me for the person I am, not the person I want to be.
We do appreciate you. You bring so much laughter to our lives.
I do, and yet you kick my characters as meat shields.
so the ship groans under the weight of the cold, relentless sea, cutting through the dark waters with purpose. You stand on deck, watching as the distant mist ahead begin to thicken, shrouding your destination in an ominous veil. You are nearing the infamous Port Shadowhaven, the last beacon of civilization before the wild, cursed lands of the Ebon Realms. Weeks have passed since you last left behind the familiar shores of Etharis and are now seem to be a distant memory. The seas have grown darker with each passing day, and the cold air, as though even the sun itself refuses to touch the path that you now sail. Port Shadowhaven lies ahead, a city on the edge of the world, a place where mercenaries, scholars, and outcasts come to seek fortune or to forget their past. But behind its walls lie the true danger, the Ebon Realms. The stories you've heard of these lands have been enough to chill the blood of even of the bravest of souls. The gloom, they call it, is an unnatural force that consumes all in its path, twisting reality itself, and the plague, an endless sickness that has swept across the land, leaving death and madness in its wake. It is said that once the gloom touches you, it never lets go, and the plague only quickens the inevitable. Your mission, your reasons for coming to this forsaken place are your own. Some of you seek answers, perhaps a cure to the plague, or secrets hidden deep within the gloom. Others may be here for coin, chasing the promises of riches from desperate factions vying for control in these lawless lands. Whatever your purpose, know this. The Ebon Realms are a place where survival is never guaranteed, and not all who enter will return. Port Shadowhaven is only the first step in this journey, a haven in which is also a den of intrigue and danger. Its docks are homed in ships of almost every corner of the world, and its streets teem with mercenaries, traders, scholars, and criminals. Beyond its gates lie Duskwatch, Hollowgate, and Embercliff, some of the last vestiges of civilization before the true wilderness takes over. I'll give you a little bit of time to kind of introduce your characters. You don't have to go into too crazy detail. If you want to give a description of what they look like, or just their general overall kind of vibe, can. But I'll give you like that. We'll just start top down, based on like the player list. So going Alfie, Celeste, Demo, and then Anibun and Beru. So Alfie, you're up.
Salis, can you go first? I have my mouth full.
All right, Celeste, you go
Yes,
instead.
no. So, I am very much the archetypal half buff woman, except in pocket form. I'd wager I am extremely tiny, like 5'5", maybe 5 feet even.
In the throat. I'm punching you right in the throat.
What are you talking about? And I carry like a very small like waist bag, and the staff doesn't exist. I forgot to remove it from the token. I just carry a small waist bag, all of my belongings there. I got a lot of trinkets, like I get that very alt vibe, like David Bowie-ish, full of like um, necklaces and rings and earrings and feathers and stuff. And I just can't stop. I have been pacing around the deck endlessly, but mostly keeping next to Remy.
Oh yeah, do we have the shared background?
I don't know. You
We
know
never
that.
finalized that. I sent like
Oh, I didn't send you mine? Well, here it is. It's a 2 sentence that I sent to Brad. But the part where we meet, we have
do we know
already
each other?
yes,
That's
we have
okay,
that
cool.
part we
Got it.
discussed.
Good. Yeah, we can work with that. All right.
And that's it. That's my character. Also, her name is Jazz. Call her Jazz, and you get punched in the throat, much like Demo keeps threatening me, except that I will follow up.
Hey, don't invite me over to Brazil.
Please come to Brazil.
For many reasons, don't invite me over. I'm not. That place has many weaknesses. Anyways, who's
We
next?
do have hot Latinos.
Celeste.
All right, so Nixie is definitely a unique character. She is constantly fidgeting or messing with any form of trinkets. You can actually see her reaching into her bag, and almost her entire upper torso can fit into this tiny little bag, and it's just like, what the fuck is in there? And she's constantly pulling stuff out, kind of like Mary Poppins. Um, she's not necessarily dressed weird, but she'll have like one pant leg rolled up high, the other one tucked in her boot. She looks a little eccentric. And if she sees anything she doesn't recognize or something that is fascinating, like technology, she can't help herself. She can't keep her hands off it, and she has to tinker and figure out exactly how it works. And it's almost a compulsion. So somebody has a gun, so they may want to keep an eye on it, because if she can get her fingers on it, she's going to take it apart and put it back together probably several times.
That's good to know.
And she does the same thing with armor,
I won't
knickknacks.
metagame that, but that's good to know.
So don't be alarmed if she does that. She'll do it to shields, armor, anything. She's an artisan by trade. She's an orphan who was adopted by 2 gnomish parents, because when they adopted her, they thought she was a gnomish baby, but she wasn't. funny story into that, but she's coming here because her parents were sent a request and they're too old to travel, so she is traveling in their place. And she likes fire.
Fair.
That's about it.
Okay, demo.
Okay, my character is Remy. He is. What's the average height for elves in this world?
He'd be anywhere between like 5 and 6 foot.
Okay, so he's like 5'8". Oh, ¿qué pasó? ¿Qué? ¿Cómo que no? Okay, anyway, sorry, I'm being distracted right now. Okay, anyways, what was I saying? Right, so he's about he's about 5'8". He's a very dark-skinned elf with a long brunette hair that's kept into a very low ponytail. He's very nondescript at a glance, and that's kind of his jam. He doesn't like drawing a lot of attention to himself for reasons that'll become obvious later on. And so he's just wearing looks to be normal trousers with a sort of like leather studded armor vest, but it's kind of like unbuttoned and it doesn't look like it's he wears it more like it's for an aesthetic rather than for armor. There's no weapons or anything on him. He has a long green cloak that he also wears as well. But other than that, he kind of tries to keep himself very unassuming. And this whole time, other than Jez has been pacing about, Remy has just kept himself over along one of the I don't know what you call the railing, I guess the railings of the boat, and just watching the sea as it passes.
Okay. On your button. Bill. I know you're muted, but
Bill, Bill, Bill.
Sorry, myself muted. My son is more. You see in Gloom, the old man. My son can be trying.
so I'll Bill, I'll stop you for a second. It is almost next to impossible to understand you. Um,
I'm
I don't.
sorry.
You're good. You're in the middle of a hurricane and you're having to use your phone. I get it. If we need to hold off on yours for now, we can, and then you can explain it a little bit better once you have better connection issues or not having connection issues. Because it is, I've heard maybe 3 words since you started speaking. So
It sucks because I can actually hear you guys just fine.
Oh,
You
now
sound
you're
clear. You
perfect.
sound clear.
right there, you sounded clear.
Okay. All right, so I just switched back to the app, and I'm just focused on the app right now. Okay, so you see an incredibly old man, so old that you probably think he shouldn't be traveling. He is in very drab, plain clothes, robe, and he's leaning on an old quarterstaff. Throughout the journey, you've seen him helping people, giving them little bits of food, a couple copper here and there whenever they seem to be in need. You don't see any religious symbols on him. He just seems like a really, really kind old man. Has a very, very squeaky old voice.
Okay. Anything else, or are you good?
Completely bald, extremely long white beard that kind of seems to get lost inside the folds of the robe.
So presently, you don't look like your token.
Correct.
Okay.
Got it. All right, Viru.
Okay. In the corner, you see a silver scaled figure with a brooding, quiet demeanor. His eyes are cold and reflective, like a polished steel, a hint of deep inner struggle. He's pretty often reserved, but his aura exudes an intense and disciplined faith. And when he speaks, it's with a commanding presence, very short but heavy words of wisdom and with power. And he always just kind of carries himself as like a silent guardian, always alert and ready to protect or destroy in the name of his deity.
Okay.
That's the cool Dragonborn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but all Dragonborn are cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
They really
Don't
are.
have to do much.
You don't. All Dragonborn. Okay, Dragonborn. Okay, you're automatically cool. You're a badass.
Yeah, I can kind of
It's a
shoot
scale.
a breath weapon out of my mouth.
Yeah.
So as you kind of all stand there, you see this kind of old grizzled gentleman uh, who appears to be the captain of the ship. You have met him before. You've been traveling for approximately about 2 to 3 weeks since you left Etharis. This is Captain Stormwind. He's got kind of a little bit of a gruff voice, and he kind of yells out to you, just pretty much anyone that's within earshot, and he just kind of yells out to everybody. You're close now. Can you feel it? The air's got that taste, a weight to it. Soon you'll see it for yourselves. The mist on the horizon. That's not fog. Not like you'd used to in Etharis. That's the edge of the gloom. Once ye cross into it, well, best to keep your wits about ye. He kind of spits over to the railing and glances kind of like nervously towards like the distant shore. Port Shadowhaven's the last place you'll find any sense of normalcy. Folk there still pretend things are fine. They'll think they got things handled on the gloom and the plague, but they know better. We all do. Once you're past the port, the lands are divided. Factions scrambling for power or just trying to keep their heads above the madness. The Iron Banner's in it for the gold, and the Dustwatch Scholars think they got the answers. But none of them even come close to stopping what's happening out there. You'll notice that as you are kind of like standing there on the shore, or standing there like that, you kind of notice a slight change in the overall feel of everything that you've been experiencing up to this point since you've been standing on the deck. Define track cut.
Oh, the record scratch?
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't remember the expression record scratch.
Trying to see if it's doing what I want it to do. Let's see. There you go. Now it started to. The mist thickens as you draw closer to the shore, swallowing the horizon and blurring the line between the sky and sea. Shadows seem to cling unnaturally to the ship, and a heavy silence falls over the crew. Ahead, you can just make out the faint outline of Port Shadowhaven, a city perched on top of the edge of ruin, but still standing for now. You know that beyond those walls lies the true danger of the Ebon Realms. The gloom is ever present, and the plague has already claimed much. Factions fight for control, but none have found a way to stop the slow, creeping death that taints the land. Whatever your reasons for coming here, the path forward will not be easy. The choices you make will determine whether you survive, or whether the gloom claims you too. And you'll hear the kind of captain kind of like mutter up again. You best be ready for what's waiting on shore. The glooms twist everything it touches. Beasts, men, even the land itself. And the plague, well, that's something you can't outrun. They say Port Shadowhaven's still holding on, but no place is safe forever. Once you step foot there, everything's a day's fight just to stay one step ahead of it. And as the ship approaches the dock, the eerie silence is broken by the distant sounds of a bustling port, shouts from sailors, and the creaking of ships mooring and the distant clang of metal on metal. Port Shadowhaven awaits, a temporary refuge from the darkness that presses on from all sides. But even here, whispers of the gloom and plague are never far away. Prepare yourselves, adventurers. The journey ahead is fraught with danger. Whatever hope you carry with you, Know that the Ebon Realms test not your strength, but your very will to survive.
That was fucking cool.
So I'm gonna go over.
Yeah.
I did not want to bombard
That was
you.
awesome. I got chills.
I did not
Right.
want to bombard you with what I did the last time I did a Grim Hollow campaign, where I had like a 9-page document of a timeline. Nobody read it.
That's a lie.
That is a lie. Alfie and I read it, and I gave the Spark
2
cheat
people
note-
read it.
I
And I gave the Spark cheat note
He
to
didn't say
Bill.
I
Read it too. Bill read it too. And I gave the Spark notes to Olivia because she admitted she'd be too lazy to read it, and I gave her the cheat sheet, and she even read that.
That's so on
I
brand
kept-
for her.
I kept referencing the timeline because my character was like 300 years old.
Well, this time I decided
Huge
to.
nerd IRL. I'll take that.
No, I will vouch for the people who are in your last campaign that stuck with it. We all read the info.
Well, I appreciate it. This
The
time,
people who dropped, no, they did not.
this time I decided to do something different. Instead of a extremely long history, which I do have, but I decided to do something a little bit more compact and have just the major events that have taken place over the last 45 years. This would be events that you as players would be able to learn from books, just precursorily looking into the Ebon Realms before showing up there, because showing up to an area that you've never been to before, completely blind and with no prior knowledge to it, is usually what equals a death sentence sometimes. So I'm going to read off some of the key events that have happened in the last 45 years in the Ebon Realms.
So everything you're saying would be common knowledge that we would all know and be readily available.
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
The Searing of Hollowgate, which took place 45 years ago. Hollowgate was once a thriving trade city, but it fell victim to a devastating ritual by the Plague Cult. In a single night, dark flames engulfed the city, and horrific creatures emerged, corrupting everything in their path. This event marked the rise of the Plague Cult and turned Hollowgate into a scarred reminder of the Gloom's power. I am going to go into some detail of each of the major factions. I'm not going to go too in depth, just for other reasons, but I will at least give a brief overview of the major factions. I'm going to do that after I finish the timeline. The Reclamation of Embercliff, which took place 40 years ago. Embercliff was overrun by the Gloom and was reclaimed by bloody battle by a coalition of Duskwat scholars and the Order of the Veil. This victory proved that the Gloom could be fought back, but at great cost. The city now stands as a fortified outpost against the darkness, though it's forever haunted by the Gloom's lingering influence. The Forgotten Isle Surge that took place 35 years ago. The Forgotten Isle became a focal point of Gloom activity, with eerie phenomenon plaguing the surrounding seas, ships vanishing, and strange creatures lurking behind the waters, or beneath the waters. The scholars flocked to study the rising Gloom energies, and the island remains a mysterious and dangerous location, luring the brave and foolish alike. The Gloomtide crisis that took place 30 years ago. A sudden surge of Gloom outbreaks hit multiple regions, crippling trade routes and devastating villages. No place was safe as shadowy creatures emerged without warning, turning roads into death traps. The crisis forced villages to band together, strengthen defenses, and leaving scars that would never fully heal. In the Dark Harvest Rebellion, which took place 25 years ago, in the wake of the failed Gloom defenses, angry citizens rose in rebellion against their rulers, demanding better protection. The uprising was crushed brutally, and military control tightened across the land. The rebellion showed how deep the fear of the Gloom runs, and how far people will go when pushed to the brink. The Embercliff wall breach, which took place 20 years. Despite its rebuilt defenses, Embercliff's walls were breached in a terrifying assault by Gloom beasts. The breach caught everyone off guard, and the city's defenders fought desperately in the streets to push back the invaders. This battle exposed the city's vulnerabilities and set off a massive effort to fortify its defenses further. The Blood Moon Festival incident, which took place 15 years ago. During the Blood Moon Festival, the Plague Cult orchestrated a ritual that unleashed powerful gloom manifestations across multiple cities. What should have been a night of celebration turned into a nightmare as creatures of shadow attacked without mercy. This event underscored the cult's growing power and forced the cities to reevaluate their defenses. The Pine Brook mine collapse, which took place 10 years ago. In Pine Brook, a mining operation dug too deep and broke into a gloom-infested cavern. The resulting collapse unleashed a wave of corruption that swept through the village, shattering its economy and plunging the survivors into chaos. Pine Brook's mine now stands as a warning of the dangers of lurking beneath the surface. The Dustwatch Tower siege, which took place 5 years ago. A coalition of gloom creatures and cultists laid siege to the Dustwatch Tower, home of ancient knowledge and powerful wards. The battle was fierce, with heavy casualties on both sides, but the tower's defenders managed to repel the attackers. The siege left the tower damaged but unbroken, leading to increased defenses and more aggressive countermeasures against gloom threats. The Ebon Crown Conspiracy, which took place 3 years ago. Rumors of a powerful artifact known as the Ebon Crown sparked a deadly game of intrigue among scholars, mercenaries, and cultists. Betrayals and assassinations followed as each faction tried to claim the crown for themselves. Whether real or myth, the Ebon Crown has become a symbol of the Gloom's corruptive influence and a reminder of how some far will go in pursuit of power. And lastly, the invasion of Port Shadowhaven, which took place 1 year ago. Port Shadowhaven, a key stronghold and trade hub, was suddenly invaded by gloom creatures and plague cult operatives. The port's defenses were overwhelmed, ships were burned, and the city was plunged into chaos. This invasion was a stark reminder of the plague cult's growing reach and the ever-present threat of the gloom. Now, these events have shaped the world that you're about to enter, a world where shadow holds a threat and the line between survival and destruction is razor thin. As you embark on your journey, remember that the gloom's influence is never far away, and the choices you make will determine whether or not the Ebon Realms can withstand darkness or fall into oblivion. So I will go over the factions real quick. I'm trying to see if I have my mini section of it. My notes that I have made is pretty thick. Okay. So here's here's kind of a little bit of a breakdown of each major faction in the Ebon Realms. They consist of the Iron Baron mercenaries, the Order of the Veil, the Fallen Lords, the Shattered Remnants, and the Bloodied Court. The Iron Banner mercenaries have established a strong foothold in Port Shadowhaven. They have an outpost here where they offer protection to merchants and wealthy citizens in exchange for high fees. They are using this to pretty much grow their influence around the area, and the Iron Banner mercenaries are mercenaries. They go to the highest bidder. They don't hold any allegiances to any crown or any ruler. Money talks, and they answer.
That's me.
Okay, I'm looking to see. I have a breakdown of each town and what each one do in each town. I'm trying to find more of breakdown like this. So I'll do it this way. How about this? The Plague Cult, which is one of the ones that you heard a lot during the timeline, is a secretive and fanatical organization dedicated to spreading the gloom and serving its enigmatic leader. They believe that the plague represents a necessary transformation of the world and a path to new dark order where they will hold power. The cult is composed of individuals from various backgrounds united by their devotion to dark rituals and the promise of power through the gloom. They actually have a unique logo. I have not uploaded it to the game yet, but I will when we play for our first session. But the Plague Cult's logo consists of a unsettling symbol. It is a dark blood red circle enclosing an intertwined like trio of like thorny vines. In the center is like an eye-like design with a jagged, cracked iris, and the eye is surrounded by what now?
Yikes.
Yeah. And the eye itself is surrounded by wavy lines that resemble both plague marks and cracks in the earth. And the logo itself symbolizes the spreading corruption and the omnipresent gaze of their dark deity. But I was able to actually get art of that, but I realized I didn't upload it to the thing, but I will before we play, and I'll show it to you. The Shattered Remnants are a group of rebels and outcasts united by a common cause to resist and dismantle the Plague Cult's insidious influence. They are formed from survivors of the cult's initial attacks, as well as those who have lost loved ones to the Gloom. The Remnants are driven by a fierce determination to end the plague and restore peace to their lands. They operate in secrecy using guerrilla tactics and sabotage to undermine the cult's efforts. The Order of the Veil is an ancient organization dedicated to the studying and containing arcane forces and supernatural threats. They operate from the shadows, focusing on maintaining the balance between the material world and the realms of magic and darkness. The Order is driven by the belief that the Gloom and other supernatural threats must be understood and controlled to prevent their destructive spread. They often work behind the scenes to prevent magical disasters and protect hidden knowledge. The Fallen Lords are a sinister faction of former nobility and powerful individuals who have turned to dark magic and forbidden knowledge in pursuit of their own agendas. Once influential and respected figures, they have become twisted by their quest for ultimate power and immortality. Their motives are rooted in the desire for domination, revenge, and acquisition of arcane secrets. While the Plague Cult actively spreads the gloom, the Fallen Lords seek to exploit the chaos for their own gain. Another organization that I don't know if I mentioned it in that, but I will also go into them, is the Dusk Watch Tower Scholars. They are known for their vast knowledge and expertise in handling the gloom and arcane matters, and they offer a variety of services to people, and they are one of the most present forces of good that you will see in the Ebon Realms. They are primarily like mages and scholars, and they are present in almost every single town and city that you will visit. They have outposts almost everywhere, and they are like the most staunch force of trying to actually stop the spread of the gloom and combating the plague.
What were they called?
The Duskwatch Tower Scholars. And the last faction, which is the Bloodied Court, which I'm trying to see. It was not in my paragraph that I had. Oh, there it is right here. The Bloodied Courts is a powerful faction of vampires operating in the shadows of the Ebon Realms. Born from ancient bloodlines, their history stretches back to the earliest days of the island, before it was discovered by the Ebon Syndicate. The Bloodied Court sees themselves as the rightful rulers of the night and has steadily expanded its influence, moving secretly through the political, social, and magical spheres of the land. Unlike common vampire covens, the court operates a sophisticated and structured society, adhering to a strict hierarchy and elaborate code of conduct. But those are the major factions that you will be dealing with through this campaign. I also wanted to go over a change to the currency system that I was doing for this, because one complaint I have with 5e is the currency and how expensive things are. And when you play things like Pathfinder and you see, buying like, a healing potion shouldn't cost you, an early game, your first mission reward of maybe 50 gold pieces you know, shouldn't be able to afford just one potion with that. So I made some slight changes to this currency system. So the 4 coin types that you will deal with in the Ebon Realms, going from lowest to highest, which will use the same structure format of 1, 10, 100, and 1,000 in terms of exchange rates. The first one being the Iron Mark, which is a small, rough-hewn coin with jagged edges. Each iron mark bears the symbol of a blacksmith's hammer on one side and the silhouette of a mountain range on the other, representing the hard labor of the common people. This is your most basic form of currency. Iron marks are used for everyday transactions like food, drink, and simple supplies. Due to their commonality, they are often traded in handfuls for small purchases. However, iron marks are prone to rust, which further reflects the degradation of the world caused by the Gloom. A silver crescent, which is a slightly larger than a iron mark with smooth curved edges. On one side of the coin is engraved with a crescent moon, and the other side depicts a coiled serpent, an ancient symbol of wisdom and cunning. The crescent shape represents its intermediate value in the cycle of the moon, echoing the belief in the balance of the world. Silver crescents are typically used for trading goods of moderate value, such as tools, basic weapons, and lodgings at an inn. Despite its slightly tarnished appearance, it's still regarded as a relatively stable form of currency, especially outside of major cities. The golden sovereign, which is a little bit more rare, is a large, weighty coin with a crown symbol on one side and a blazing sun on the other. The design of the sun has become more intricate over the years as artisans attempt to restore its lost luster, though it remains partially obscured, symbolizing the diminished power of the light in the gloom. Gold sovereigns are often used for high-value purchases such as land, high-end magic items, and political favors. Nobles, wealthy merchants, and adventurers often carry them. Though rare, gold sovereigns hold significant purchasing power and often traded between factions and influential figures. Now the legendary ones, the Ebon Crowns. Ebon crowns appear to be perfectly circular, pitch-black coins with a faint shimmer. One side is engraved with a symbol of a broken crown, representing power lost or stolen. The other side is a simple, stylized depiction of an eye, symbolizing the ever-presence of the gloom. These coins are eerily smooth and with no clear craftsmanship marks. Ebon crowns are extraordinarily rare and are only used in transactions of immense importance, such as dealing with powerful factions, paying for grand rituals, or purchasing legendary artifacts. Some say that these coins have dark magical properties that carry curses or blessings from the gloom itself. Most common folk have never even seen a common crown, and even amongst nobles, they are very rarely traded openly. And like I said, the exchange rate from 1 iron mark is the equivalent of 1 copper piece, and 10 copper pieces or 10 iron marks would equal 1 silver crescent. In your character sheets, you will actually notice that in your inventories, I have them changed, so they will actually say what they represent. So you'll get kind of used to it, and I will have to go through each one of y'all's individual items and change your prices because they don't reflect the exchange rate for items in the Ebon Realms. They are the standard, 5e SRD prices. So I got to go back and I have an actual exchange rate of how each one of them is worth, but I'll update that before we actually play.
Hey, I saw you have a journal entry for the currency, which helps
That
to
is
keep
correct.
track of
I'm
that.
going
Yeah,
to each one of the ones that I'm going over, I'm going to post in that you will have access to be able to go
okay,
back
yeah,
as
I
a
was gonna
point of
say if you
reference.
are you gonna add like journal entries for the factions and whatnot too?
Yes, I am. I'm gonna
Okay,
I'm
cool, cool,
gonna
cool.
the one I have now is more of a broad thing. That's more stuff that I have that I know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to make a condensed one. I know I have it. I don't see it saved in any of my OneNote or in my game. So before we play, I'll have it pasted in there. So it'll be a brief, very very similar to what I read to you, but maybe with a little bit more info that will be pasted in the journal for you to be able to read.
Cool.
And let me see. I think this was the. I'm trying to see where. Okay, so in my script is where I had that timeline. So make sure there's nothing in there. So let me go over the plague and the gloom and the influences and things like that that you will deal with as being a part of this world. So with the plague, our campaign itself is set in a dark and treacherous land. There are some things you must understand that the plague itself is not a disease, it's a force that changes everything. It twists the body, warps the mind, and it corrupts magic itself. But let's go over what the plague can do and how it will impact you and the world around you. So, the plague's symptoms is more than just a simple illness. It causes grotesque physical changes, discoloring and festering skin, swollen limbs, and even necrosis. Some may experience only mild symptoms like fever and fatigue, while others might suffer from extreme pain and rotting flesh. It can also cause some mental and emotional effects. The plague can cause the mind to act as though the body, it can cause an effect. It will affect the mind as well as the body. Victims are often experience paranoia, hallucinations, or madness. They see things that aren't there or feel overwhelmingly despair and dread. It can also cause magic corruption. For those who wield magic, the plague can corrupt your abilities. It might twist your spells, alter your magic, or make you a conduit for dark powers, furthering the spread of the disease. The social impact is also pretty devastating because victims are often shunned or persecuted, creating isolation and fear. This can lead to societal breakdowns with people hoarding resources or turning on each other in desperation. And then the supernatural influence. The plague attracts supernatural entities. Hauntings, demonic manifestations, and other horrors are common in plague-ridden areas, making the disease not just a physical threat, but a deep, pervasive horror. Here's some of the effects that it can have on you as a player character. You might notice an ability score reduction. If you contract the plague, your character might suffer to reductions to your ability scores. Constitution, wisdom, and other stats may be affected by physical and mental corruption. You might have disadvantages on checks. You may find yourself at disadvantage on various checks and saving throws, especially those related to physical and mental challenges. There's a bit of a disease mechanic. The plague operates like a disease with specific mechanics. You will need to make saving throws to resist ongoing effects and damage and other debilitating effects that you may suffer, and you may be afflicted by conditions like poisoned or sickened. Corrupted spellcasting. For magic users, your spells may be tainted. You might have to make saving throws to avoid unintended side effects, or your spells could behave in unpredictable ways. This may cause some role-playing challenges, which may come into play. Your characters might develop phobias, paranoia, or hallucinations, impacting how you would interact with the world and the decisions you may make. And then there's the physical changes. The plague could leave visible marks on your characters, such as disfigurement or noticeable symptoms. This will affect how NPCs and other characters view you. Here are some different ways of how you can contract the plague. Direct contact, such as touching an infected individual or being contaminated items, could spread the disease. Isolation. Breathing in air contaminated, inhalation. Breathing in air contaminated with the plague, like spores or miasma, can infect you. Contaminated food and water. Consuming tainted food or water is another common method of infestation. Infection. Magical influence. Curses, supernatural entities, and other dark magic can also transmit the plague. Infected creatures, such as mutilated beasts or corrupted undead, may carry the plague, spreading it through their attacks. Some environmental hazards, such as areas that are heavily afflicted by the plague, like cursed regions or disease laboratories, are very dangerous. And then cursed items. Handling cursed relics or items used by dark rituals can expose you to the plague. But just getting the plague doesn't mean that you're screwed. There are ways that you can cure it. And here's how you can manage it. Divine intervention. Powerful divine magic from clerics or paladins such as Greater Restoration, Heal, or Wish can cure the plague. Antidotes and elixirs. Rare potions crafted from special ingredients can provide a cure. These may require you complete quests or seek out skilled alchemists. Magical rituals. Elaborate rituals using ancient texts or artifacts can cleanse individuals or areas. However, these rituals are often complex and difficult to perform. Healing spells, lower level spells like Lesser Restoration may alleviate symptoms but won't cure the plague outright unless treated quickly. Herbal remedies, specific herbs found in dangerous or remote locations can be brewed into remedies that offer relief. Ancient knowledge. Consulting ancient scholars like the Dustwatch Tower scholars may reveal forgotten cures or methods to combat the plague. But even if you can't find a cure immediately, there may be some ways to manage the symptoms. Medicinal treatments such as herbs, potions, and poultices can reduce symptoms or slow the disease's progression. Magical aids such as spells from protection of good or evil or enchanted items can help bandage the effects. Rest and recovery. Sometimes resting in safe environments will help mitigate symptoms, though it will not cure the plague. Enchanted objects such as carrying things that resist diseases may reduce the impact on your daily life. And then preventative measures. So protective charms or wards can act as a buffer, preventing the plague from worsening. The plague itself starts as in its initial exposure and progresses in a 5-stage manner. And then its initial exposure, the symptoms begin as a mild fever, fatigue, and slight skin discoloration. The effects may be disadvantage on perception checks and physical skill checks, like athletic checks and dexterity checks. The time frame of the initial exposure typically increases over 1d4 days after you've been exposed. So your symptoms might not apply immediately. It might be 2 days after you first got exposed until your symptoms start to manifest. The early infection, symptoms begin with fever, joint pain, invisible sores, and mild paranoia. You may suffer effects on disadvantage, on constitution and wisdom saving throws, and you take 1d4 damage per day based on a constitution saving throw. The effects themselves progress over 1d4 days after you've progressed from stage 1. Once you reach stage 3, which is the advanced infection, symptoms such as severe deformities, necrosis, and intense pain, also severe delusions. You may suffer disadvantage on all checks, gain the poison condition, and take 1d6 necrotic damage per day and suffer from short-term madness. Time frame again is 1d4 days after stage 2. Critical infection, stage 4. Symptoms is extreme necrosis, organ failure, and constant agony. The effects that you will suffer being blinded, deafened, and paralyzed conditions. You'll take 2d6 necrotic damage per day, suffering from long-term madness and daily DC 15 Constitution saving throws to avoid death. The time frame again is 1d4 days after stage 3, and stage 5, the terminal stage. Symptoms present as complete physical I don't even know what that is supposed to be. Is basically physical disfiguration and transformation into a plague-spawned creature. The effects, you become incapacitated near death and may become a plague-spawned minion that I will eventually control. Again, these take place 1d4 after stage 4 symptoms. You don't ever want to get to that point, otherwise you're rolling a new tune. So, curing, successful treatments can halt or revert plague stages. Greater restorations might push you back from stage 3 to stage 2. Prolonging things such as potions, medicines, and magical wards can delay progression, giving you more time to find a cure. But now that you know the dangers of the plague, remember that the Ebon Realms are unforgiving, but they offer hope and how you handle the plague, whether or not you cure it, manage it, or succumb to it, will shape your journey. Stay vigilant, and may your
Jesus.
actions bring your light to the darkness.
Jesus.
Yeah, how common is it to
Yeah.
like mechanically that's a big concern. Like,
Yeah.
do you want me rolling for literally every little thing that I do?
No, you will know, and I will. There will be. You'll know when you need to roll for any kind
Okay,
of effect to
okay.
be like that. Yeah, it's not going to be you're constantly like there will be distinct. You will know, and I will
Yeah,
be
you got a
very
splinter. Oh,
upfront.
now you're
Yep.
sick.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will be very. The majority of the things that you will be dealing with that will possibly cause the plague will be dealing with creatures that are infected with it that attack you and fight you. So that
So
will
Okay.
be
you'll give us like a heads up before
yes,
so we can be
yes. You will
okay.
know.
Okay.
For example, this is an example of what a plague zombie might look like that you run into and deal with.
Hmm. So it's like a zombie kind of disease.
So zombies bad. Got it. Okay. Don't let zombies touch you.
Well, I heard protection
Well,
from good and evil might help.
Oh,
It
thank
can,
God we have a
yes.
cleric. Thank God we have a cleric.
Yep. So things like lesser restoration and things like that are going to be your best friends, especially because when
Yep.
you contract the early stages of the plague, that can
I have
be
this.
treated with lesser restoration and things like that. Or taking, there are, like I said, there are numerous potions, herbs, and things that you can take and acquire that will help prevent the contraction of the plague.
So I
So
can just burn everything with fire, right?
you can do your best, and you can certainly try. So
Cover everything in grease.
You
I'll,
can
I'll cover
certainly try.
everything in grease and I will light it on fire. Got it.
yeah. So now let's discuss gloom
Make moonshine
exposure,
and light it on fire.
but let's explore gloom exposure in the Ebon realms. So starting with stage 1, which is minor exposure. This is basically just short-term contact with just low level gloom areas. Effects that you may suffer from would be disadvantage on wisdom perception checks. Symptoms would be lightheadedness, foggy thoughts, and fatigue. The duration, these symptoms typically last for about an hour after you leave the gloom. So sometimes you can recover it a little faster, but usually just removing yourself from these kind of areas is more than enough to not suffer any kind of negative effects. And then people with high wisdom or prior experience with the gloom can help you resist these type of effects. But if you've even just brushed up against the gloom, you might feel a little bit foggy or tired, but it's nothing that you can't sleep off. So
Yeah, but if I get to stage 4, I'm handing out my my DNR, my do not resuscitate. If I hit stage 4, just let me go at that point.
yeah, and
Our
that would be
our
of the plague.
Or
So,
grim.
but the gloom stuff is a little bit different. So moderate exposure to the gloom would be prolonged contact in moderate gloom areas. Some of the effects that you may suffer from would be disadvantage on saving throws against fear and charm effects. Symptoms might present as paranoia, hallucination, or trembling hands. The durations typically last for about 2 to 4 hours after exposure. Or, sorry, it's 2d4 hours after exposure. And for resistances, a constitution saving throw of DC 13 each hour to avoid escalation. So if you spend a little bit longer in the gloom, it will start to mess with your head. You might see things that aren't there, hear whispers in the dark, or find your hands shaking when you need them to be steady. Stage 3, which is a severe exposure, is described as an extended contact in deep gloom areas or high concentration spots. Effects that you may suffer would be exhaustion of level 1 and disadvantage on attack rolls. Symptoms might persist as migraines, cold sweats, and nightmares with blurred vision. They typically last for 4d6 hours after exposure. And resistance is a constitution saving throw of DC 15, and a failure will result in 1 level of exhaustion and 2d6 necrotic damage. In deep areas, the gloom doesn't just get inside your head, it wears down your body as well. You'll feel drained, your vision will start to blur, and you might start seeing monsters in the dark. Stage 4, corrupted by the gloom. Spending weeks exposed in heavy gloom areas or just in extreme contact in very high concentrated areas for extended periods of time will result in permanent corruption, and you will gain a gloom touched trait. Symptoms will be physical changes to your skin, like gray skinned, blackening veins, or shadowy features. The duration are permanent until cured by powerful magic. Resistance could consist of a Constitution saving throw of a DC 17, and failure will result in a Gloom touch trait. Long-term exposure is worse. The gloom will change you permanently. Your skin might pale, your eyes cloud over, and your very presence will seem off. But you'll gain powers, but at a price. I'm going to provide you with some examples of gloomed touch traits. Shadow sight. See in darkness such as dim light, but struggle in bright light. Whispers of the gloom. Haunting whispers that mess with your mind. Gloom infusion. Extra necrotic damage, but harder to survive death. Aura of despair. Nearby creatures suffer from fear effects, but charm spells are more dangerous to you. And fading presence. You can turn invisible once per day, but gain exhaustion afterwards. These traits can give you power, but they come with their own costs. Your choices and exposure will shape how the gloom will affect you. So some psychological effects that you may suffer, such as paranoia, which will be disadvantage on insight. You may trust becomes a challenge for you. Nightmares, such as disturbed sleep, affect your ability to recover, so not being able to gain the true benefits of a long rest. Phantom sight, which are hallucinations of shadowy figures or whispers. And fear of the light, which are bright places become uncomfortable and you may need to avoid daylight altogether. The gloom doesn't only change your body, it changes your mind. Even outside its reach, you might feel its lingering grip. So I'm going to list a couple of protections that you could use against the gloom. These are items that you may discover on your journeys and things like that. So Gloom Ward charms are tokens offering temporary resistance. The Duskwatch Elixir are potions granting immunity to minor and moderate gloom effects. A Shadowbane Lantern, which is a light source that repels the gloom, creating a safe zone. Relics of Pure Flame, religious artifacts providing an aura of protection. Wards of the Veil, arcane glyphs that offer resistance and extra power against gloom-infused foes. A Cloak of Twilight allows you to blend in with the gloom while resisting its harmful effects. And some spells that can help resist or purify the gloom consist of Lesser Restoration, which helps cure paranoia, fear, and early exhaustion. Protections from good and evil, which temporarily shield against the gloom's effects. Greater Restoration that cuts deep into the corruption and severe exhaustion. And Howla, which creates safe havens immune to the gloom. And Daylight, which suppresses gloom effects and cleanses shadowed areas.
Does Leomid's tiny hut have any effect?
One more time.
Leomid's tiny hut.
Lehman's tiny hut would offer minimal protection, but it would not give you. You would still want to be in somewhat of an area that would. You wouldn't want to be in a very, very heavily dense gloom area, like a heavy concentration area, in Lehman's tiny hut. It wouldn't bode well.
Out rope trick.
Rope trick also would not bode well.
Okay.
So does that seem clear on some of that stuff?
Pretty clear and pretty fucking terrifying.
Sounds good. So with Grim Hollow, they had a harvesting system. I like the harvesting system. I am a big fan of it. I like the kind of extra mechanic of after you've killed something, you can kind of search its body, even if it's not even something that holds, material components like, swords or money or things like that. But whether it being a gloom infused creature or something else, it's nice to be able to get something off of it that may aid you in your journey. So I have a harvesting system that I'm going to discuss with you as well. So, creatures, plants, and other environmental resources have been warped by the gloom and the plague. Harvesting these materials require skill, caution, and knowledge of how to handle gloom-tainted substances. These materials can often be used to craft items, potions, and weapons, but may carry inherent risks of corruption. This system is designed to provide you with a way to gather valuable resources from the environment and the creatures that you defeat. There's also some unique elements that I added that's tied to the gloom and the plague. So, not all creatures or natural resources are suitable for harvesting. When you defeat a creature or find a unique location in the Ebon Realms, I will determine whether or not there's materials that you can to collect. I'll be pretty open about it, and I'll let you know early on. But after you kind of get a feel for the game and some of the things that you run into, you'll kind of pick up on things that you'll likely know that you'll be able to harvest things from. So, harvestable creatures are any creature with a connection to the gloom, plague, or possess a unique feature such as magical creatures, aberrations, fae, or undead. Harvestable locations such as gloom-tainted forests, plague-ridden swamps, and corrupted ruins are areas that may have rare gloom flora, and minerals would be things that you can also harvest. So, for the harvesting check, will consist of 4 main ability skills that you will use to try to gain something when you are trying to harvest. The 4 skills that you will use are survival, medicine, arcana, and nature. Survival is used for general harvesting of body parts, plants, and minerals. Medicine will be used for harvesting organs, blood, and other delicate components. Arcana will be used for collecting magical essences, enchanted items, or tainted gloom materials. And nature, such as for identifying and safely harvesting natural plants, herbs, or gloom altered wildlife. In terms of the item rarity and what you may find, and based on the DC check to be able to gain those items, determine whether or not you had a success or a failure. A common will be a DC 10, an uncommon item will be a DC 15, rare will be a DC 20, a very rare will be DC 25, and a legendary material will be a DC 30. You will be able to aid each other when you are attempting to harvest some materials if you share a matching skill, or if there's other type of situations where I deem it appropriate that you can aid an ally with something that makes sense narratively. So, for the results of a harvesting check, if you meet the DC, that counts as success, and you harvest the desired material without any issues. You can also achieve a partial success, and the character may gain a portion of the materials either in small quantities or maybe of a lower quality. And then a failure. Unfortunately, you failed to collect any useful materials, and in some cases, this can result in contamination and even exposure to harmful substances or even injury. And as an optional rule that I'm probably going to include, because why wouldn't I? On a critical failure, which of course is a nat 1, on a harvesting check, may expose yourself to a gloom curse, plague infection, or even corruption.
I would not expect anything less from you.
Nice.
Actual facts.
Ooh, yeah.
So, for our Skyrim fans and fans of that kind of lore, I'm gonna describe some items that you may find in the wild, such as plants and herbs. A nightshade blossom might be located in gloom-tainted forests and shadowy glades. It's used as a key ingredient in potions of invisibility and necrotic resistance.
Oh
This
my
would be
God.
considered a rare herb. Gloom root, which is dark and corrupted swamps, is usually where they are found.
Does it chirp?
I guess we'll find out. So a plant with restorative properties, but dangerous to handle. It's used in potions, but it can risk corruptions. And it would be considered uncommon with a DC of 15. Bloodthorn vine, which is a plague, it's usually found in plague-ridden jungles and cursed ruins. These vines can be used to craft whips and bows with lifesteal properties. These would be considered rare. And for one last one, we'll do this one that's very rare. Veil fern, which is usually found in shadowed caverns. This is used to enhance stealth abilities when applied to as a paste, and is also useful for creating things like cloaks of invisibility. These would be considered very rare when it would have a DC of 25. And some creature parts that you may find in certain enemies, such as a Gloom heart, which would be found in Gloom spawn and Shadow beasts. These infuse weapons with necrotic energy and begin used in potions of shadow resistance. These would be considered rare. Plague rot, which are found in plague zombies and diseased beasts, is a dangerous volatile ingredient for concocting poisons or plague-related magic items. This would be considered uncommon, with a DC of 15. Shadowbone, which is usually obtained from gloom-tainted skeletons or wights. This could be used to create lightweight and magical armor with resistance to necrotic damage. This is considered uncommon with a DC of 15. And Blood of the Forsaken. Forsaken Revenants and Cursed Warriors. It can be used in dark rituals and often used to create cursed weapons. It is considered rare with a DC of 20. Now, you can use some of these items and materials that you gain over time and could use them to craft new weapons and armor. Some examples of crafting recipes that you could use with some of your harvested materials would consist of a Gloomfire longsword, which would require a Gloomstone and Shadowbone. And the effects that it would deal would cause an additional 1d6 necrotic damage on a hit. This would take about 1 week to make, and its cost would be 100 gold sovereigns. A potion of gloom resistance. Materials used for this would be gloom root and shadow salt. Grants resistance to necrotic and shadow-based damage for 1 hour. This would take maybe about a day to make and would cost 50 gold sovereigns or equivalent in raw materials. And last but not least, a spectral cloak. Materials such as spectral essence and veil fern grants the wearer the ability to phase through solid objects for 10 minutes. This would take about 2 weeks to make and require 200 gold sovereigns. But harvesting materials as well as crafting those materials comes at a cost. Working with such dangerous materials is not only dangerous for the maker, but also the wielder of the item afterwards. So in order to make these items, you will need to find specialists who are adept at handling these materials. Now, handling these materials is dangerous, so there is an extra cost in terms of labor and risk at the person who has to do this, because if they get infected by something, they may have to seek out a healer to cure them of negative effects. You also notice that as the game progresses, if you are in areas that are densely populated, like Port Shadowhaven, the items that you purchase will be significantly cheaper than what you might find in more remote cities where they don't have as much access to trade and merchants that they would normally get. So you'll notice some price discrepancies. Some things will be worth maybe like 10 or 15% more at one location over to compared to another as you travel around. I'm going to list out a shop, for example, so you can see how pricing will work compared to some other things and also just compared to other 5e adventures and stuff that you may have participated in the past. So, in Port Shadowhaven, there is a forge called the Ironclad Forge that is a blacksmith. Some items that he possesses is a steel warhammer, which is basically a massive warhammer forged with steel and intricate runes. It deals 2d6 bludgeoning damage and can be wielded with two hands to wield and deal more punishing blows and deal 2d8 damage of bludgeoning instead. And if the target is hit by a critical hit, they become stunned for 1 round. This weapon would cost 2 gold sovereigns. Reinforced chainmail. This chainmail is reinforced with additional metal plates providing extra protection. It grants a +1 AC and disadvantage on stealth checks. This item would be cost 10 gold sovereigns.
What's the typical reward for like a mission?
It varies. So I have some quests that you will participate in the town. There are some bounties that can be that will be available to you in addition to other events and stuff that I have laid out. So there's always going to be something that you can do. I'm looking to see if I have
I
my
might have a silly question.
sure.
Would there be a bartering system
There
in this
is,
world?
yes.
Or oh, there is a
There
bartering
is.
system.
There is a bartering system. So your skills and being able to go into dangerous areas and being able to acquire materials that would be harder for a layperson to be able to get can reward you in getting items at a significantly reduced cost and or could almost outright fund and purchase an item with items and materials that you get. So
Okay.
going out and harvesting dangerous materials could be used and traded to the right person, could either grant you just compensation with currency, or they could allow you to purchase something from their shop in exchange for that material items that you procured. I am looking for
Would we
my
be also like? I know we have a cleric. I'm assuming the cleric can do some healing. I'm a tinkerer. I can tinker. Would we be able to trade those skills for income, kind of like in Pathfinder, or not
I'm gonna
really?
be a hero of the people, and they're just gonna throw stuff at me.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You just throw
Like
He's
the
a
disease.
dragonborn. People are
Bring
going
it.
to toss their
Yeah.
gold to the dragonborn. Like, oh, look at those scales. Here, take my money. Take my food. Here,
It's
take my house.
infected.
I'm gonna cure them, and they're gonna say, "Oh, take my money, please."
Take my money. Take my house. Take my wife. You cured us.
Please take my wife.
Oh my.
Oh, here we go.
I mean, you're a dragonborn. Expect something.
So I am looking for my bounties. I know they are in this because I remember making it. I'm looking for my bounties. Oh, maybe this is. Let's see. Oh, there it is. It's under active. That's why I had it listed as activities. Okay. So an example of a bounty that you may see in Port Shadowhaven. Here's an example of one. Would be the Missing Alchemist. It is posted by Councilman Varric Yvaro. The reward would be 200 silver crescents and a rare potion. The description of the mission would be an alchemist named Zara Goldleaf has gone missing from her shop in the lower district. She was last seen researching a new formula involving dangerous alchemical substances. Councilman Varric and her patron has grown concerned and fears that she may have been abducted or far worse, fallen victim to her own experiments. Find her, or at the very least, recover her notes. So that would be an example of a bounty that you could get. So it would be 200 silver crescents, which would be the equivalent of 20 gold sovereign.
Oh, okay.
But granted, that's divided between 5. So
yeah, 5 ways, but still,
Yeah.
okay.
But yeah, so there will be opportunities for you to earn money as well as do odd jobs around the city to earn income.
Okay.
So I'm trying to see if there's anything else I need to go over. I am going to buy the 5e book or the new book tomorrow for Foundry so that I can kind of go over all the different rule changes. Is there anything that we
Oh,
haven't already started?
You haven't said clarified the inspiration that you told me earlier.
So I am wanting to do heroic inspiration, which I think is part of the new thing, which allows you to re-roll any failed anything. So basically the equivalent of a hero point in Pathfinder. So you roll a failure saving throw, you can re-roll it using your inspiration. You all will have one inspiration at the beginning of every single session. You already have one now. I have a module that allows me to see y'all's AC as well as your like passive perceptions. And on each of your tokens, I have an icon that represents that you have inspiration. So I'll be able to see at a glance. So for whatever reason, I didn't click one at the start of the session, I'll apply it. And also, when you use an inspiration, that doesn't mean it's just one and done. If you do something that warrants earning it, I'll reward you another inspiration. So do cool shit, and you get to do cool things. So, and I'll award you prizes.
I will do cool shit.
I am cool shit.
I will be shooting people, meaning allies, during battle. So
What?
that's cool
That's
shit.
not cool.
Just
As long as you're not scared of needles, you'll be fine.
just as a brief overview of some of the costs of items and materials that you will deal with in the Ebon Realms. Here is an example. Here's some examples of like just even mundane items that you would find. These are primarily weapons, but here are just the costs of like just simple mundane items, just so you can kind of get a semblance of how pricing is different compared to other games. So a dagger would cost you 10 iron marks, which would be 10 copper pieces. A short sword would cost you 2 silver crescents, which would be 20 copper or 20 iron marks. A long sword would cost 5 silver crescents or 50 iron marks. A long bow, because it's a little bit harder to get and make due to limitations of wood, would cost 1 gold sovereign. A hand axe would cost 1 silver crescent. A battle axe, 3 silver crescents. A light crossbow would cost 3 silver crescents. And a great sword would cost 8 silver crescents.
It's kind of hard to have a semblance of what all this means when it's like that's kind of something you get a feel for after you've been playing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Like
this
you'll
is-
kind of.
How
That's
about
what I'm saying.
this? What's
I'm just
the
kind of.
night and meal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
great build.
for example, a light crossbow in normal 5e costs 25 gold pieces. It costs 3 silver in
lot.
this.
Holy shit. So you're definitely making everything more price effective, like in Pathfinder.
Correct.
Love it.
Yeah, it's going
Love
to be
it.
significantly
Yeah.
more cost effective.
What's a night and an inn cost?
That's a good
night,
idea.
A night in an inn would cost, depending on the establishment and where you're going to, a typical inn, like a road, like on the road to get out of the gloom and kind of harsh areas, may cost you anywhere between 1 to 5 silver crescents. And a
wow.
establishment like
Okay.
in
Horrible.
Port Shadowhaven, which is a very large city that has, higher end establishments compared to lower end establishments, you could easily go to most inns and taverns and stay the night for 1 silver crescent without any issues. Or you could stay in a nicer establishment and it may cost you 1 gold sovereign per night. or 1 gold piece. So very affordable.
Yeah.
I am not going to be super strict on rations and managing food unless there's any very prolonged travel or anything like that where you're going to be out and about in the wild. But you'll be able to, harvest resources and things like that. But a lot of the creatures and things that you may find are gloom infused or infected with sickness, so they're not always going to be edible. So maintaining some form of food supply like that will be kind of important. But I'm gonna try to track it kind of early on. But if I get kind of lax with it, I mean, it is what it is.
Now, I know I have the ability to purify food and drink if the food and stuff we find is contaminated by the gloom. Would that spell work?
In some areas, like yes, it would not be much
Oh,
of an
okay.
issue.
Okay.
But if you have some like very densely corrupted areas, most of those creatures in there are not going to be edible. But
Okay.
going most air, like the gloom is pretty much everywhere, so it is hard to get away from it. But the public uses similar things like that, like purifying food and
Okay.
water to be able to make things edible and things like that. And most of the people try to grow and raise stuff outside of the gloom influence to not have to worry about using such costs and having to rely on magical means to just to be able to eat simple food every single day. Okay, let's see if there's anything else I need to go over. I think I've hit most of the highlights.
It's a good info dump, but like a really good info dump.
Do y'all have any questions about anything?
No, it was just the end for me.
Okay.
So if we get to a town, is there gonna be like a notice board that we get quests from, or is it something we just go around and talk to people?
There'll be a mix of both. There'll be things that happen organically where you may run into an NPC or something like that that may start or trigger a quest line, and or there will be things that I will post in the journal, or I will use the objective quest feature of the journal notes. I have to fiddle with it. I don't remember if it works as well as it used to. I used to make
Yeah, it does.
yeah, I haven't fiddled with it as much since this version of Foundry, but I used to use it in like version 10 a lot. In another campaign, I used it pretty heavily. So I will have things that I will keep up with constantly that will help you refresh your memory and jog your memory of current objectives of what you're doing and just additional missions that you may have access to or things that you can look into to try to do. I also did do your sword that we talked about earlier. That I have a way that I can activate it when I need to, and
Oh, cool. Okay.
so I can basically toggle it, and then I can adjust the color to what I need to.
You have a glowing sword?
I not only a glowing sword, it glows at certain times.
Wait, no, like in Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings.
yeah, like it's exactly that.
It's awesome.
That is awesome. Fuck rings of power, but that's awesome. Yay.
Okay, but
Wow.
the Lordering sword glows because it's racist. What minority does yours
Because it's
say?
racist.
It's racist as well.
Yeah,
Hey,
but
it
what
can't be
minority
racist
does
because
yours
I mean,
say?
by
orcs
definition, yeah.
there are now female orcs and now there's baby orcs and they just want to
It's
be happy, loving families. They don't care about cannibalism
it's
or war
racist
anymore.
to gloom
Ugh,
creatures.
I'm gonna throw up.
Oh, I see. It's the immigrants now. It's the new people.
No,
So
that's fucking awesome.
one thing that I did not go over Um, so I forgot I did make this. I just didn't put it in my game. I just see it now though. So I have a couple last things that I'm gonna read, and then if y'all don't have any other questions on that, we'll end it there for the evening. Um, this should be the last little bit that I'll need to, and then I'll post this inside the game, and this will be probably the best condensed version of everything. I knew I had something, and I of course I just found it. So this would be how travel works in the Ebon Realms. Travel in the Ebon Realms is dangerous and unpredictable. Roads, if they can even be called that, are a little bit more than worn paths cutting through hostile wilderness. The once grand trade routes have been abandoned or claimed by bandits, Gloomspawn, or other horrors. So dangerous roads. So travelers rarely move alone. Caravans are often protected by mercenaries like the Iron Banner or smaller local militias. Even with protection, the risk of an ambush by corrupted creatures of the gloom or a sudden plague outbreak is ever present. So, with transportation, horse and carts are the most common mode of transportation, though they are expensive to maintain and due to the harsh conditions. Some wealthier merchants or lords might have access to arcane methods of travel or even relics that can bend space. However, teleportation is extremely rare and dangerous due to the gloom's interference with magic. Settlements and outposts. Towns and villages are scattered across the realm, acting as beacons of relative safety. Larger settlements like Port Shadowhaven and Duskwatch often more security, but even there, the dangers of plague and gloom are never far away. Outposts along the road, some which are run by mercenaries or by the Order of the Veil, are vital for those making long journeys. And then in the wilderness, the untamed wilds of the Ebon Realms are filled with ancient ruins, cursed forests, and desolate plains. The gloom is thicker in these places, and strange creatures lurk in the shadowy depths. On the most desperate or brave, only the most desperate or brave adventurer will travel far beyond the safety of any of these known routes. So there's also a specific kind of day-night cycle, but the very brief, condensed version of it. The daylight hours, due to the gloom, even during the day, the sky is often pale, dim gray, and sunlight is very weak. There are clear days are very rare, and there's just this perpetual twilight that seems to hang over the land. And in some regions, the gloom can completely block out the sun entirely, casting everything in a perpetual shadow.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Is it like the sun in the Citadel of the Unseen Sun, or is it brighter than Citadel of the Unseen
Brighter than that,
Okay.
but similar.
Sun? Okay.
Nightfall. Night is especially dangerous. As the sun sets, the gloom thickens, making visibility near impossible. Creatures of the dark are most active at night, and even strong magical wards offer little comfort. Most villages lock their gates and fortify their homes as night falls, leaving travelers strangers outside to their own peril. And then the effects on magic. Magic users often note that the gloom seems to distort or warp spells, especially at night. Some spells may fizzle out, others may draw on the gloom's power, becoming unstable or corrupted. And then just the overall gloom's effect on the land. The gloom has slowly twisted the natural world, and the longer it lingers in an area, the more extreme its effects become. It is not just a fog or mist, it is a living force that warps reality. Nature is warped, as in the regions where the gloom has taken a hold, the forests grow dark and twisted, with trees seeming to whisper or groan. Rivers run with black water, and once lush fields are now barren or sprout strange poisonous plants. The land feels hostile, as if nature itself has turned against the people. Unpredictable weather. So the weather is unpredictable, with sudden storms or unnatural colds sweeping in without warning. Rain may carry strange diseases and cause plants to rot within a couple of days. In areas with heavy gloom, lightning storms filled with dark energy lash at the landscape. And then corrupted beasts. Animals exposed to the gloom effect either flee the region or become tainted by its power. Wolves, bears, and other wildlife can transform into monstrous creatures, their flesh twisted, their eyes glowing with serene light as the gloom. People see or speak of seeing flocks of birds fall from the sky, their wings dissolving into shadow. Towns on edge. Villages near the gloom are often abandoned, or the people within them live in constant fear. Superstitions run rampant, and the locals believe that the gloom can possess people or even curse entire families. It is common to see shrines or wards set up along village borders, though they are rarely enough to hold back the corruption. And then finally, daily life in the Ebon Realms. For most people, life in the Ebon Realms is a constant struggle for survival. The gloom, the plague, and the harsh, unforgiving environment shape every aspect of daily existence. The living conditions in small villages, life is rough. Homes are made of wood and stone, fortified against nightly attacks from gloomspawn or bandits. People live in fear of the next plague outbreak or the arrival of the dark cult. Larger cities like Port Shadowhaven or Dustwatch are better defended, but they are often overcrowded with disease and crime rampant in the poorer districts. Superstition and religion. Many people in the Ebon Realms are deeply superstitious, believing in a wide variety of charms, rituals, and wards to keep the gloom and plague at bay. Some turn to the old gods, while others worship darker powers in secret, hoping for protection or even a cure. The rise of the plague cult has driven some more desperate measures, and rumors of blood sacrifices are not uncommon. The economy and trade. Bartering is a way of life for many, especially in more isolated regions. Crops are scarce, and food must be rationed carefully. Blacksmiths, herbalists, and apothecaries are highly valued as they provide essential tools for survival. Iron marks and silver crescents are the most common for trade, but in darker regions, rumors persist that even deals are being struck with ebon crowns with dire consequences. In family and community, people band together for protection and survival. Communities are tight knit and family bonds are strong, as they are often have no one else to rely on. Festivals and celebration are rare, but when they do occur, they serve as a way for people to forget the horrors outside their doors, if only for just a night. And lastly, the factions' influence. Most common folk try to stay out of the larger political structures between the factions, but many villages owe their survival to their protection of the groups like the Iron Baron Mercenaries or the Order of the Veil. However, factions' allegiances are complicated. What might bring safety one day could invite retribution next. And when I was mentioning magic effects, I have already made a breakdown of the various effects that result as being in at night and casting spells. So these will be based on a d20. I'm just going to list a couple of them, and the rest of them you're gonna learn yourself. So if you roll a spell or you cast a spell, doesn't matter if it's a cantrip or anything like that. Each time you cast a spell, I will roll a d20 in secret, and depending on what that roll is, that effect will apply to that spell.
Oh god.
Rolling a 1 on the d20 will result in the spell backfiring.
Oh no.
As a result of that,
Good thing I'm not a spellcaster.
yep.
Right? Me neither.
I'm an artificer. I'm not a spellcaster. I do things.
I do think.
They just happen.
I just jump around and stuff.
I pull out a screwdriver and fire comes out of it. I mean, I don't know how it works. It just
So,
does.
for example, that spell will fail, and the caster takes 1d8 psychic damage per spell level.
Oh fuck.
Oh, that's fine. No one's gonna die to that except when they do.
You're a monk. Of course you say it's fine.
I have
Delayed
the same
effect.
dice that you do. We're both D8, sister.
A delayed effect. The spell's effect is delayed by 1 round, giving enemies time to react or move before it takes effect. So you could cast a spell and the enemy can move from the location where they're at and you completely waste the spell.
It's gonna feel so great.
Surge of Power. The Gloom amplifies the power's spell, or the spell's power. The caster might choose to cast the spell as if it was 1 spell slot higher without expending a higher spell slot.
Ooh,
But do
that's
we need
actually
to do-
nice.
but do you need to
Okay,
do
so there's some
resistance?
negatives, but there's also some positives in there.
That is correct.
Okay, that's not the worst then. Okay.
And
Do
the
you
last
need
one that
to-
I'm gonna
but do you need to
reveal,
have access to these higher slots?
Dark
I just
Vision.
cast it higher.
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
just cast it. It would just upcast it basically.
Okay.
So, and the last one I'm going to reveal, Dark Vision. The caster's eyes glow with the gloom, gaining 60 feet of dark vision for the next hour, but suffering from disadvantage on perception checks in bright light.
So you're a drow. Got it.
But those are some examples of the effects that you will suffer while being in the darkness and casting.
But
magic.
everyone has dark vision, right?
Nope.
Dragonborns don't have dark vision? What
They
the
don't
fuck?
have that
No, they
vision, it's
don't.
the weirdest
What?
shit. Never have. They never have.
That's why I
That
have a glowing sword.
That makes no sense. You would think
And-
Dragonborn would.
Spell called light.
Damn.
I will be a burning torch in a sea of darkness.
Well,
Did
at
you,
least you'll be able to attract to your glowing personality. So
Do you want to know any of the special effects that light sources will have on the gloom?
oh god,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's probably important.
So
Does everybody else have dark vision?
I'm a half
Yeah.
elf. I have dark vision.
Oh, fuck you guys.
I am a dwarf and also a goth.
yeah, two of you do not have dark vision.
Oh shit.
Who else?
I'm assuming Bill, or you're
I think,
you're a
I
human
think
mage,
I
right?
do.
You do not.
He can hang out with me.
Because Demo, you're an elf, or
I
Yeah.
have light.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I've light.
So, in the Ebon Realms, the gloom is a pervasive, unnatural darkness that twists reality and brings forth creatures from the shadows. Its presence influences both the physical and metaphysical aspects of the world, creating a sense of dread and danger. Light sources like torches, lanterns, and spells such as light or dancing lights can have a variety of effects on the gloom depending on the intensity and magical nature of the light. So, natural light sources such as torches, lanterns, and candles, they have a limited effectiveness on the gloom. Natural light such as torches and lanterns can partially push back the gloom, creating a small pocket of safety around the light. However, the gloom seems to absorb or wrap these mundane sources over time, dimming their effectiveness the deeper one goes into the gloom's influence. Also, you'll notice flickering shadows, that even within the radius of the natural light, shadows seem to behave unnaturally. You'll see flickering or moving as it is if it is live. While torches and lanterns create a sense of protection, the gloom can warp reality such in a way that creatures will appear or may appear to be in the periphery or strike just outside of the light's reach. Now, magical light sources, such as the light spell and dancing lights, they offer greater power. Magical light sources have a stronger repelling effect on the gloom than mundane lights. The light spell or similar magical illuminations create a strong radius of clear vision and safety, preventing the gloom from encroaching as quickly. However, the gloom has been known to warp magic, and over time, even magical light may start to flicker or weaken if the source remains in heavily tainted areas. With gloom resistance, the gloom seems to have a level of resistance to magic, especially light-based magic. In areas where it's particularly dense in these regions, magical light may only dimly glow or have a reduced efficiency, making it harder for adventurers to solely rely on such sources. Now, going into stronger forms of it, such as sunlight or daylight, the natural or the daylight spell, you will notice that the gloom has severe weakness to this. Direct sunlight is one of the most powerful counters to the gloom. When exposed to true sunlight, the gloom recedes quickly, and in many of the creatures associated with the gloom will retreat or become weakened. In the regions where the gloom is dense, even sunlight can appear dimmed and corrupted, but it is still the most effective way to push back its influence. The daylight spell, which mimics the effects of natural sunlight, is also highly effective against the gloom. The spell can momentarily pierce through even the thickest gloom, providing a tense burst of light that repels shadowy creatures and offers respite. However, it may attract powerful gloom-dwelling beings who despise such illumination.
Perfect.
Can anybody cast that with their class?
Eventually, I can.
Oh, okay. Because I know that's a druid spell. I just didn't
Now,
know what other
do
classes
you want to
could do
learn
that.
about how dark vision works with the gloom?
Yes.
Doesn't.
I want to know.
So,
Revel in the darkness.
you
Like
may
I never
suffer
was
from
there.
obscured vision. The gloom is not just physical darkness, but a living, malevolent force that distorts reality. While creatures with dark vision can normally see in non-magical darkness, the gloom is magical in nature. As a result, dark vision is less effective, and the
No.
clarity of sight is
Called
reduced.
it.
Instead of seeing normally in black and white as they would in typical darkness, creatures see in blurry shapes or shadowy forms that seem to flicker and shift within the gloom. You will notice a range reduction. The normal range of dark vision, typically being 60 feet, may be shortened when attempting to see through the gloom. For example, a creature with 60 feet of dark vision may only be able to see clearly up to 30 feet in the gloom, with visibility becoming hazier or even completely obscured beyond that range. The exact distance could vary depending on how deep or thick the gloom is in that particular area. And then you may notice a distorted perception. The gloom's influence often twists perception, creating illusions or mirages. Even if a creature with dark vision can see through the gloom to some degree, what they perceive might not be reality. The gloom might create a phantom image or hide creatures in plain sight, giving a false sense of security or even causing confusion during combat or exploration. And some gloom entities in concealment may be affected by dark vision. Many of the creatures tied to the gloom are themselves products of shadow and darkness. These creatures have often had the innate ability to blend into the gloom, making them difficult to spot even with dark vision. A creature might be entirely invisible in the gloom until it is too late, striking from the shadows with advantage or surprise. Now, gloom specific effects, in particular to dense areas of the gloom, may be effects that override dark vision entirely. In these zones, not even magical sight can penetrate the darkness. These areas could require special equipment such as enchanted lanterns or spells that counter the gloom's influence to see through it.
Does this also include Devil's Sight?
That was another thing that I was actually about to go into. So, magical dark
Awesome.
vision or spells or ability that enhance dark vision, such as the dark vision spell, may be slightly more effective but also limited. For example, casting dark vision on a creature might allow them to see further or with more clarity in the gloom, but with the effects that are still diminished compared to normal darkness. Magical items or enhancements, specific items or special items crafted by the Dustswept Scholars or other gloom-resistant factions could allow a creature to see better within the gloom. These items might be rare or highly sought after, such as lenses, goggles, or crystals that attune to the wearer so that the gloom's dark magic providing improved vision or the ability to spot hidden creatures. And things like devil sight that are unique to like warlocks and things like that would be able to pierce through the effects of the gloom more effectively than, say, casting the dark vision spell.
What about the see invisibility spell?
The see invisibility spell would also help you be able to distinguish creatures inside the gloom. Now, you might not be able to clearly see what exactly is, but you may be able to ascertain the overall shape and image of a creature that is blending into the gloom's darkness. If you are in a heavily dense gloom area, most creatures in those type of environments are going to have a little bit of an advantage against you, and they use a lot of hit and run style tactics where they can actually use a form of misty step where they can teleport from one area of darkness to another area of darkness to be able to gain flanking type maneuvers or to attack you in greater numbers, or maybe a straggler that's off by themselves, maybe pew-pewing someone from a distance.
We're all gonna die.
So,
Not- I
Ugh.
mean, there's a possibility of that, but if we can get enough gold for me to buy a wagon, I can modify the wagon and we can all hop in the wagon and run away.
Oh yeah, we can make it like a train. And then
Exactly.
we'll like ride the train through the gloom,
Yes.
like that one show.
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
Gloom
yeah.
train.
And I don't need a beast of burden. It can just drive itself.
We could make a carnival.
Sounds like Vampire Hunter D or something.
I mean, it kind of.
but I think that I laid it out pretty well of what y'all can expect, and
No, I feel like it was a lot of good information.
yeah, and like I said, I will
Yeah.
this
Oh.
Really excited,
yeah,
but
this,
now I'm nervous and need to build a backup character.
But I will
I already have a backup character ready to go.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I'm sure it's a kobold.
Yes.
Oh,
It is.
no.
My God would never let me perish.
But I will make that entry that y'all will have access to that will have some of this stuff that I discussed that will be I'm basically just going to title it what the players know. So that way this will be something that y'all can access anytime you're playing the game to give yourself a refresher if need be, and like that. So, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think I hit everything pretty hard in terms of what to expect.
I'm excited. I think it's gonna be fun.
I'm going to purchase the book for the updated D&D edition, the enhanced thing like that. I'm gonna buy it tomorrow. When I do that, I'll kind of go through it and kind of look to see, all of the best rules and stuff. I know that Veru's
Point.
character and Alfie's character are already updated with the current
Yeah,
classes
about
of the.
that.
What now?
Dragonborn in the Nuclear's handbook do have that region.
Yeah.
And dwarves have a normal walking speed of 30 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all that.
That's,
So you'll get a boost from being a monk then. So you'll be the fast person in the party.
I mean, I would still be the fast person in the party. Dwarves just start at 25 feet in the old clears as well.
Well, I had 60 feet of dark vision to Veru's Dragonborn.
didn't
Also,
see-
I posted the days to be voted on for the next sessions. Well, it looks like we have 3 days for
Every day.
D&D and 2 days for Pathfinder.
Every day, please, and thank you.
Well, they do.
Did looking to see, did it do your effect?
No, it didn't do the. It said I do not have permission for the macro gunshot.
Oh, okay. I'll change that. Did it do at least the ranged effect of it, but not the sound?
No, it didn't do the ranged effect either.
Okay, let me test it on mine real quick. A glance at it.
Yeah, the
But
moment
yeah,
my
I'm
character.
gonna.
Oh, sorry.
You're good. I'm basically gonna go through and I don't know if y'all heard the gunshot. I did. But
No.
No, I
Nothing.
didn't hear
you
it.
did not. Okay. So I'll fiddle with that to get that working before we play. I was basically going through today and trying to get everyone's characters, copacetic and have everything good to go. But I'll have
We're hyped. We are pretty hyped.
what now?
We are pretty hyped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah,
I want
hopefully
to start
that's
playing right now.
I
We
know.
got 45
mean-
minutes,
That's what I'm
Brad.
saying.
I
I
mean-
know. I don't have the stuff right
You and
after
me,
this good
let's
to go.
fight each
Fucking
other.
wing it.
You gave me
Um,
okay. In my defense, he gave me very vague descriptions for maps, and I made them.
Improvise.
That's not on me. That's on him.
Improvise.
now the only I will do if you want, I can at least give you a little bit of role playing from one of the characters that you may run into occasionally going forward.
Get us to the port. You said we have to go through customs. We can roleplay custom.
Oh,
Roleplay
Wow.
customs.
That's what I looked like forward for the entire week, role playing custom.
so
That's
um,
fucking
speaking
We
of
go to the
speaking of
fantasy
customs.
D&D later.
passport, ma'am.
Speaking of customs, so there is some rules when it comes to the magic system that did.
Good thing I'm not a magic caster.
Yeah, I know, right? Um,
That's what she truly believes. So
Magic casters are evil.
so magic itself is intricate and very deeply woven into the fabric of the world. It influences daily life, social structures, and the ongoing conflict with dark forces. So there are 4 major sources of magic. One being gloom energy, elemental essence, ancient artifacts, and rituals and incantations. The different types of magic are arcane magic, necromancy, elemental, divine magic, shadow magic, and like sangromancy. Its overall acceptance and integration, like household magic, such as like elemental magic, is commonly used for daily life and practical tasks such as heating homes, purifying water, and providing light. Health and healing, divine and elemental magic are often used for healing and medical purposes, with healers and apothecaries employing spells to treat ailments and injuries. And then crafting and enhancements. Magic is used in crafting tools, weapons, and protective gear. Enchanted items are highly valued and for their durability and enhanced properties. For like the social structure, there are magic guilds, which are guilds and academies dedicated to the study and practice of magic that exist throughout the Ebon realms. These institutions are centers for magical learning and serve as gatekeepers for magical knowledge and ethics. And then the Sorcerers' Council, which is usually in larger cities or regions, which are a council of powerful sorcerers, which govern and oversee the use of magic, ensuring that it's responsible and ethical. And then with terms of regulation and restriction, there's a control of dark magic. Use of necromancy and shadow magic is highly regulated and often forbidden in public places. Those who practice these forms of magic will often be viewed with suspicion and sometimes outright hostility. And then licensing. Practitioners of magic, particularly arcane and elemental magic, may often need to obtain licenses or permits to protect or to practice their craft openly. Unauthorized use of magic can lead to legal repercussions. And then also religious and cultural perspectives. Religious attitudes, divine magic is embraced by religious institutions and is often seen as a blessing from the gods. Practices and rituals involving divine magic are integral to many cultures and ceremonies. And then cultural practices. Different cultures within the Ebon realms use their own traditions and rituals associated with magic. These may include festivals celebrating magical feats, ancestral rites invoking elemental spirits, or secretive rites practicing shadowy sex. But
Shadowy what? Excuse me.
Shadowy
Yeah.
sex.
shadowy what?
sex.
I know what I heard.
So we're having shadow orgies. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
mean,
whoa.
Let's go.
I'm not.
Says
I
the
was-
cleric.
But
A
in
cleric.
Whatever,
summary,
nerd.
But yeah, the Ebon realms magic is central and multifaceted aspect of life. It is shaped by the interplay of elemental forces, ancient artifacts, and corrupting influences of the gloom. It is integrated into daily life through practical applications and deeply embedded in social and cultural structures. While elemental and divine magic are widely accepted, darker forms such as necromancy, shadow magic, and sangromancy are regulated and often feared. The constant threat of corruption from the gloom adds an additional layer of complexity and danger to the practice and acceptance of magic in the realm.
You literally have covered everything. Holy shit.
That sounds like a challenge.
If Alfie can figure a way to fuck shit up, he will. Applauds.
Look, I just like pressing buttons.
I know. It's so amusing. I love it.
Did you want me to go over rest, things with short rest and long rest, and anything with like sleep disturbances?
Do you need to go over that?
I mean, it's up to y'all, but
I feel like we get fucked over in this.
The question is, do
Anyway.
you need to go over that because we cannot look at the regular rules for them? As in they're
Well,
different?
as in there are some additions, yes.
So the answer is yes, you need to go over that now.
So, in terms of short rest, which duration still stays at 1 hour, a short rest is, of course, a brief period of downtime, typically lasting an hour, where you can catch your breath, tend to your minor wounds, and recover limited resources. In areas heavily affected by the gloom, short rests may not be as effective unless the area is warded or protected, and the gloom influence on it. So, if in resting in a gloom affected area without proper precautions, characters might experience nightmares or hallucinations during their short rest, potentially reducing its effectiveness. This might result in reduced healing or the ability to recover certain abilities.
So if I used Prayer of Healing and it shortens the short rest to 10 minutes, would that kind of fight off the gloom?
It would.
Alright.
Because you wouldn't be in an area like still for an hour. You're less likely to succumb to the effects of it if you're doing it for a reduced period of time. Now, a long rest still has a duration of 8 hours, which a long rest requires 8 hours of rest where you characters sleep, meditate, or engage in any light activities such as standing, watch, or reading for no more than 2 hours. Long rests allow characters to recover all your hit points, half of your hit dice, and regain expanded spell slots and abilities. Now, the gloom influence. In the Ebon Realms, finding a safe place for a long rest can be challenging. In areas heavily affected by the gloom, characters might need protective wards or magical items to prevent corruption or nightmare-inflicted exhaustion. Without proper protection, the rest may be interrupted, reducing its effectiveness. Now let's go over sleep disruption.
Remember that.
Sleep disruption. Yay! Like you couldn't
Nightmare,
get more
nightmare,
realistic.
nightmare.
So we did this to avoid like realistic shit.
So,
say, it's great to be in fantasy Wonderland.
yep. So, dreaming in the Ebon Realms is dangerous. The
I've been
gloom
up
has
since
power
3
to
fucking
manipulate.
AM. I am super tired, boss.
So, the gloom has the power to manipulate and distort dreams. Characters may experience gloom visions, which are twisted nightmares that can range from cryptic warnings to encounters with malevolent entities. Prolonged exposure to these dreams can erode a character's sanity. Some of those more attuned to the gloom, like certain scholars of the Duskwatch Tower, can enter a lucid dream state to explore the gloom's mysteries, but it carries great risk. Magical rest. Rest-enhancing spells or items are highly sought after in the Ebon Realms, as natural rest is unreliable. Potions, magical incense, or enchanted stones blessed by the Duskwatch Scholars or the Order of the Veil are common among travelers. Magic items like Dreamcatcher amulets can absorb the worst of the nightmares, and warding stones offer temporary relief by pushing back the gloom's influence, though these effects are limited in duration and proximity. Camps and safe havens. Travelers and adventurers often seek out gloomless sanctuaries, which are small enclaves hidden from the gloom's influence, either naturally or through magical intervention. In these rare places, rest functions normally, and characters can take both short and long rests without fear of any gloom afflictions. The Duskwatch outposts often double as refuges for those on the road, with fortified areas designed to protect travelers during the night. Corruption from insufficient sleep and rest. Lack of proper rest can lead to gloom corruption if a character is unable to sleep properly for several days, or if they experience a series of corrupted dreams. They may accumulate points of corruption, which can manifest as physical or mental ailments. Mechanically, this could translate as gaining levels of exhaustion, disadvantage on wisdom or intelligence checks, or gaining temporary madness effects. And in terms of regional variations, some regions, like Frostfall Glacier or Skyreach Spire, are less afflicted by the gloom, but they carry their own environmental challenges. In colder regions, sleep without proper shelter or magical protection can lead to a frostbite, and icy winds could disrupt rest and sleep. In the the Crimson Crags or Shattered Peaks, the gloom is more aggressive, and resting requires special knowledge or powerful magic to prevent its effects. In summary, sleep and the rest of the open are fraught with danger due to gloom's influence. Travelers may take precautions, but those who neglect their rest may find themselves corrupted, weakened, or worse. In the Ebon Realms, sleep deficiency caused by the gloom's interference or insufficient rest may have significant consequences for you, and these are some of the examples that you could affect based on your stats and saving throws and abilities. So, mechanically, here's some of the things that could happen to your characters as you progress with not sleeping and things like that. So, early stages of it would be levels of exhaustion. So the standard levels of exhaustion. So, level 1, disadvantage ability checks. 2, speed halve. Level 3, disadvantage on attack and saving throws. Level 4, hit points cut in half. Level 5, speed reduced to 0. And 6, death.
Sounds
You
painful.
also, yep,
Oh, is that all?
yeah, just death.
Level 6, death. You die.
Die.
There's nothing else.
Disadvantage on wisdom intelligence checks. Sleep deprivation impacts characters' ability to focus and make rational decisions. Characters who have gone without proper rest for more than 24 hours suffer from disadvantages on wisdom, perception, insight, and intelligence, arcana, investigation, and history checks. And like for the
Coffee
narrative
help
reasoning, but what now?
Does coffee help that?
As long as you don't roll a 1, sure.
As long as I don't roll a 1, that's fair.
Yeah, rolls natural.
Everything is killing you. Does coffee help?
So,
Hey,
narrative
coffee
reasons
fuels
for this
our
would
life.
be
I mean, if that's not the reality we are living in, I don't know which one you are.
Exactly.
so some of the narrative reasons behind that would be like your mind becomes fogged, judgment gets impaired, and focus on details becomes harder. And then reduced spellcasting abilities. Casters who don't get a full night's sleep might struggle to regain spell slots. Mechanically, after a night of disrupted sleep or insufficient sleep, spellcasters regain only half of their expended spell slots, and they can suffer from disadvantage on concentration checks as they find it harder to maintain focus on their magic.
Wow, that sucks with spellcasters.
Yep. And then some spells may backfire. For example, if they roll a natural 1, the spell or saving throw, they could fizzle out or cause a wild magic surge.
Oh, fuck wild magic. No!
Well,
Yes.
hint,
No!
hint,
Yeah.
hint. One of the nighttime spell effects actually is a wild magic surge. So
No!
Well, I feel
So-
like I
God
must
damn it, why
inform
did I decide to play a magic caster who's full support? God damn it!
I feel like I must inform you, Celeste, that I am carrying a wild magic suitcase.
Alfie, why am I not fucking surprised?
What?
You're doing Alfie things already.
Fucking Eddie Redmayne over here with his
God
suitcase
damn
of
it.
little creatures and wild
Well,
shit.
It's
Okay,
not a
so-
Let me
suitcase,
guess,
it's-
you have teeth in there as well. Like it's a collection of teeth or something.
How the fuck do you know?
Oh, I was random. Are you serious? Why the fuck
Okay.
do you have teeth?
Brad
God
is
damn
my
it!
witness. Brad is my witness. I filled out the personality type yesterday, not today. And it
What the
reads
fuck?
that I carry a
Why
collection
do
of
you
baby
have
teeth.
teeth?
Baby teeth in a tiny
What
wooden
the
box.
fuck do you have
Maybe
teeth?
So
around and
I
find
I
out.
was I was incorrect about Lehman's tiny hut. I forgot I did have a thing specifically about that.
God! What the fuck, Alfie?
It's not my teeth.
Session 0, and the only question I have is why though? For like everything. Why?
Hey,
It's
oh
not
my
my cave. It's
God.
fine.
Bill, to your question about Lehman's tiny hut, I did actually have a thing on this. I didn't realize it until I saw this. So this spell creates a 10-foot radius dome that protects the caster and their companions from external influences while they rest. The temperature inside is comfortable, and the areas are shielded from magical effects like the gloom. So yes, Lehman's tiny hut would be a place that you could create a safe place to rest from the groom's corruption and nightmares.
Would that be the same for the magic rope or the whatever the fuck it's called?
Rope trick, no.
Rope trick, thank you.
That
Okay.
one, Lehman's Hut was one that was specific.
Okay.
Um,
I just wanted to ask.
and also spells like catnap. Like so, the spell allows for up to 3 willing creatures to fall asleep for 10 minutes. When they gain the benefit of a short rest. When used in the Ebon Realms, it's a quick way to regain some energy in dangerous areas where a full rest might not be safe or possible, and the spell can also temporarily block the minor gloom influences during a nap, because the nap is a lot shorter. So, but yeah. That's I think I've thoroughly tackled just about everything.
Cool beans. So when's our first game?
I don't have. Where's my phone?
Give me 1 second. So, October 1st, we are playing Mines of Feldover. We may or may not finish it then. Then October 10th, we're playing Pathfinder. October 17th, we are playing Pathfinder, as long as people vote and approve it. October 22nd is a D&D session, so that could be session possibly 1. Or October 29th could possibly be session 1. Unless people want to change stuff. Unless people want to change stuff around and we have a majority vote.
None of the days we play affect my schedule in this lives. That's why I'm
Well,
always
we
down.
have. Well, we have
Say those
Tuesdays
dates
and
again. We
Thursdays.
have the 10th. We have the
17th.
1st, the 10th, the
October
17th.
1st, October 10th, October 17th, October 22nd, October 29th. If we do a majority vote and want to swap something in, we can, but those are the days we have scheduled to play either D&D or Pathfinder.
Oh, I'm down for all of them.
Yeah,
They
maybe
are
I'll work.
also posted in the Discord.
Yeah.
I'll give you 1 unit of baby teeth for every session that we make out alive.
I cannot believe you have fucking baby teeth. I was being
They're not-
random as fuck, and
They're not mine.
you
They're not mine.
confirmed it. I was random as hell, and you confirmed it.
It was. I cannot believe that you just.
Baby
all
teeth.
the things,
Who has
all
baby
the
teeth?
things, all the things you could have said that I was carrying.
She picked the weirdest ass shit she could possibly pick, and
Who
then
carries
You
baby
did not.
teeth?
Brad,
it was
I did
dead
not.
on.
Brad is my witness. I rolled on a random table.
Uh-huh.
Who the
Uh-huh.
fuck carries baby
He
teeth?
he rolled it until it landed on teeth.
Now the background says to roll 3 times, and 76 was like the third result.
Like, who
which
the
is
fuck carries baby teeth? Like, what the fuck?
How do you get? Oh yeah, that's kind of weird. You like
Yeah.
the tooth fairy?
Well,
there is an
besides the
entirely.
teeth discussion, if there's nothing else, we can end it for the evening, and
Okay.
we can
I just want to say
resume.
there's an entirely credible backstory reason why I carried that. Fuck around and find out.
Demo, why does he carry baby teeth? You guys have a tied backstory.
I didn't ask about the teeth.
He doesn't want to know about the teeth.
Yes,
Neither do
once.
you.
Yes, once, but
Well, I hope that was at least a informative start to this
No, I'm
campaign.
like more anxious. I just want to start this campaign so fucking bad. Like, I know we're almost to the end of Fandelver, but I'm like, God damn it, it's a shiny new toy.
Yeah.
all right.
But
will bounce
all
then.
right.
Good
Well,
night.
y'all have a good evening, and we will reconvene during our next game.
All right.
All right.
So,
Everyone
y'all
take
have
it
a good
easy.
night.
See y'all later.
All right.
Good night.
Yeah.